On behalf of Rotary International, we appreciate the great work you have done to combat child slavery and to empower girls across the globe. So it's my privilege to present this award to you on behalf of all the 1.4 million members of Rotary.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
The Rotary International Award of Honor.
Wow, what a great moment. Dear sisters and brothers, President of Rotary International, board members, and friends. I was not invited to get this honor. I was invited to deliver my speech. So I'm overwhelmed, frankly speaking. Thank you for that. I feel very humbled. Day before yesterday, me and my wife Sumedha were attending an important event with the Nobel laureates and laureates of other prizes in Saudi Arabia, a beautiful place, Hijra. And somebody asked me, one of my fellow Nobel Peace Laureate, that what is next, Kailash? I said her that I am going to be in the midst of a 1.4 million members family. And she was surprised, what does it mean? I said it means that this is the family of people with good heart, good mind, and each one of them is champion in his or in her own way. So today when I'm here, it seems that I'm in the midst of a congregation of champions which have come from all over the world to this small place. You have brought tremendous amount of goodness, tremendous amount of positive energy one can feel here. One can feel inspiration and light while seeing your brightened faces. And this brightness did not come because of some cosmetic companies. Of course, you might have used it, some of you, as my wife was doing this morning. But it is because you have accomplished a lot in your life. Many people accomplish. But you are the one who are giving back to the world. Those who think that there are so many problems which are unsolvable, the world is facing. There's some frustration, some depression, some helplessness, some hopelessness. I think they should watch Rotary International's conference. And they will realize that hope is alive, compassion is alive, the power of humanity is alive. I'm not going to list the accomplishments you have made. But in my country, India, I know that whenever you talk of polio, people say, yes, Rotary. You have left such powerful footprints in the fight against polio. And now I know that a lady is going to take charge of the president of Rotary for the first time. Congratulations. And thanks to my brother and friend Shekhar Mehta ji for your project of girls empowerment. This is the girls empowerment. Many years ago, I was inspired with Mahatma Gandhi's talisman about measuring your success, your policies, your schemes, may it be political, may it be social, may it be economic. He said one thing to the first Prime Minister of India when he asked Bapu, means Mahatma Gandhi, how would I judge my work? And Mahatma replied, that think of the most vulnerable person, think of the poorest of the poor you have ever seen in your life. If your policies, if your actions are going to bring the smile on the face of that most vulnerable person, say yes to that program, otherwise drop it in the wastage box. So the last person of society is the measure. I was an engineer, but when I gave up my career, I was driven by this mantra. And I realized that the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable, are children. One day, a gentleman named Vasal Khan knocked on my door for some help. His daughter was born and grew up in slavery, and she was about to be sold to a brothel, 15-year-old. Her name was Savo. Desperate father somehow escaped from that brick kiln where they were confined as slave laborers. When he told this story, his only expectation that I am going to help in writing a complaint for him. When I was writing, I realized, I felt that if she was my sister, what would I do? If she was my daughter, what would I do? That was more than 40 years ago in 1981. I gave up my pen and I told him that, look, I am going to rescue your daughter. He said, there are so many people who are born and grew up there, and that slave master is a very cruel, very powerful person, with his guns and so on. I said, whatever. Let us see. But that was not a joke. Luckily, I was not killed. But me and my colleagues were beaten up badly and thrown away. Vasal was caught by the employer. But I did not give up. Because I always believed that there is always a way. I always believed that there is an answer to every problem, and the solution lies in the boom of the problem itself. If this is the problem of slavery, then the answer must be lying somewhere. We have knocked on the door of the court, and I was able to rescue not only this beautiful sister of mine, but 36 children, women and men from slavery.
Wow.
This is the first recorded or documented incident of freeing slave children through some civilian effort in the history, not only in India but anywhere in the world. This last person of society, Sabo, has given me a light, a path, a purpose. And since then, my organization and I, India itself, have been able to liberate over 110,000 children and handed them over back to their parents. But that was not enough. We Indians are also taught many fundamental values, and one of those values or ethos is believing in global familyhood, what we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in Hindi. The whole world is one. That is something which has been taught to us from generations. Thousands of years ago, our sages have taught us this in Vedas. So I started working in Pakistan and Nepal and then Bangladesh. That was not an easy thing. Raising this issue of child slavery in Pakistan was inviting anger and reactions not only from the politicians but also from Indian politicians if you work in Pakistan. But I said that I believe in human family. All children of India and all children of Pakistan and all children of Africa and Asia and Latin America and Americas and Europe are my children. If one single child is in danger, if one single child is in danger and left out or left behind due to any reason, then I won't call the world is civilized. World is cultured. I have met a boy in Sudan who was kidnapped by some extremist forces and asked to kill his own family and friends as a training to become a militia. And he asked me after his rescue, what was my fault? I met a child mother on the streets of Colombia, and she asked, I have a child in my lap, and you guys say that you are going to help me. It is too late for me. If you wanted to really help my daughter and ensure education and safety and healthcare for her. I met a skinny boy in the foothills of Himalayas once, and he said, world is not so poor that cannot take away the guns and tools from our tiny hands and replace them with the books and toys. I have met many children, I worked with them in Ivory Coast and Ghana, those who had injuries and scars on their bodies, 12, 13, 14-year-old girls and boys. They were working in cocoa beans production. And when I asked them, how do you like chocolate, which is the core ingredient of chocolate? None of them have ever tasted, ever heard of chocolate. Dear friends, when we talk of vulnerability, we should think of the last person of society who are enslaved and bought and sold like animals. We have many problems today after this pandemic, and due to pandemic, the whole world has faced serious uncertainty, fear, anxiety. But every time when the humanity has to face a crisis, it has emerged brighter, it has emerged stronger. And your presence is a proof that the humanity will emerge stronger after this convention when you go back from here. Sisters and brothers, we also have another serious problem. Ukraine. Millions of people were forced to leave the country. Thousands of children, hundreds of thousands of children were forced to live under the barracks. The God has given us sun to live in the open sky. The God has given us the earth, same earth to walk together. Not to be forced to live in barracks. And that has added up to the problem of food crisis. The supply of food, supply of energy, supply of fuel has tremendous effect on it. Gun violence. I always say that we have not been able to give tools. We have not been able to give books, not tools. Books and toys and pencils in the hands of people and children. But we are producing so many guns. How far this gun violence will take us to? This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable in any civilized world. We don't need guns in the hands of people. Nowhere in the history gun can get rid of our fear. The fear will go only when we feel that we are interconnected, we are interdependent, we are our brothers and sisters of each other. This togetherness will end our fear. And that requires lot of work, lot of efforts. Each one of you is an enlightened soul. That's why you are here. Sometimes I say that a candle need not to prove herself that she is a candle, a burning candle. Her fire in itself is a proof that there is a light around it. And your presence in any part of the world must be that candle. Candle, the light of hope, the light of love, the light of compassion through your service. Dear friends, today we are talking about 160 million children who are forced to work at the cost of their freedom, their childhood, their future, their dreams, their education, their health. World is not so poor as this boy in Nepal told me. 160 million child laborers means 160 million empty seats in classrooms. That means 160 million jobs taken over by children or forced to children, and these jobs essentially belongs to adult people. Every single child laborer is working at the cost of one adult's job. We have to break this vicious circle of illiteracy, poverty and child labor together. You can play a leadership role. You are not just the followers that I am here. That's why I am here. When Shekharji invited me in India a couple of times in some of these events, I tell you, that I was so much motivated while talking to some individual Rotarians, but also in the groups, that you can make it possible. If you have time, I can give you a couple of examples in 2-3 minutes. Do you? Who wanted to listen to me for another 4-5 minutes? Raise your hands. No, so I have to cut it down because all of you did not raise your hands. I will ask again, once more. Should I continue?
Yes.
Thank you. I will give you 2 or 3 concrete examples in a couple of minutes. Once, I freed a group of children and tried to enroll them in a school in my neighborhood in Delhi, in a village where we run a rehabilitation cum education and leadership building center. The headmaster denied it and said that these are uncultured people, they are filthy, they speak dirty language and so on. But I was insisting that these children should be enrolled in schools because they are human beings and they are ready to study. After the argument, he called his assistants and others, and they have forcibly thrown me out of the school. I could not enroll those children. Believing in Gandhi, I said that I'm going to sit on a hunger fast non-violently outside the school gate. That was sometime in mid-90s, not long ago. Then I called up my lawyer friends, and he said that better to leave that place, otherwise the police will be called and they will arrest you. I said, why? How? Then he explained that India's constitution does not allow or does not guarantee right to education. And hence there was no law right to education. So I agreed to his advice and I went back home. But the whole night and whole day, I kept on thinking that why this is not there. There are good people in politics, in all parties. There are good people in the society. We have to change India's constitution. People laughed at me that you are not in politics, you are an ordinary person. How would you do it? I said, let us do. I tell you, dear friends, that me and my colleagues have organized a long march from the southernmost tip of India, Kanyakumari, to Kashmir, the other part, from tail to head, and then to Delhi, demanding right to education and amendment in constitution.
Wow.
163 parliament members physically took part in the march supporting this idea, and within a year, or I will be more precise, within 8 months, this debate took place in the Indian Parliament and this constitutional amendment was unanimously accepted, and India has changed its constitution. I have given this example only for one reason, that each one of us is born with some purpose. And sometimes we make this mistake to choose very small purposes of life. If God has given us this divine power and divine energy, he cannot or she cannot be so meager. We can bring about change in the history in favor of the most vulnerable people. When I rescued this group of first slave laborers in 1981 and started working in other countries, we learned that most countries did not have laws against child slavery, child trafficking, use of children in hazardous occupations. We organized a march, many of you will surprised to know, it was 80,000 kilometers march,
Wow.
double than the periphery of the earth. 3 marches started simultaneously, one from Cape Town, in front of the jail where Madiba, Nelson Mandela, has been put for years, with his blessings. Another march began from Sao Paulo, from the great church of Sao Paulo. And the third one was from Manila. And all these 3 marches went across 103 countries and merged together in Europe and attended the General Assembly of International Labour Organization. I tell you, 15 million people participated in the march altogether, and no government could say no to it for our demand. And the same year, when the march culminated in Geneva's ILO General Assembly, children chanted, "No more tools in tiny hands. We want books, we want toys. No more children's exploitation, we want education." No government could say no to it. And within a year, an international law has been unanimously adopted, and that is known as ILO Convention on the Worst Forms of Child Labor. That was the power of survivors, not my power. That was the power of world's ordinary people from 103 countries, not just one country. And that time the number of child laborers was 250 million. That has gone down within 15 years, 16 years to 150 million. From 250 million to 150 million. 100 million children were saved. But friends, again the number is going up, and that is a big, big challenge for all of us. We are trying our best in collaboration with Nobel laureates, world leaders, former presidents, former prime ministers, civil society organizations, trade unions, teachers unions, faith institutions, etc. I am here to urge you that you should know that this child slavery is unacceptable. Civilization and slavery cannot go hand in hand. We have the power to do it. We have the resources to do it. World has never been so wealthier as it is today. So why our children should be left out and left behind? You can make a difference. You have done it in different way, but I would urge that in your companies, in your families, in your friends' companies, make sure that no child labor is involved. Because that child laborer is taking away the job of his own father or mother. Make sure this should not happen. No domestic child help or child labor should be involved. These children have the place in schools, not in workplaces. These simple things you can do. You can also use your authority, your power, your outreach in your own circles, that every child must be in school, especially the girls. Girls should not be left out. I would sum up with a story of a girl whom I rescued many years ago. It was a very dangerous rescue operation, going undercover and freeing those children, men and women, who were the victims of intergenerational slavery. One of the youngest person was 8-year-old Devli. I was driving fast. The children were sitting in my car. Adults were loaded in a truck. So it was almost very early morning, 4 o'clock. All children were shocked because they have never seen cars, they have never seen roads, they have never seen big buildings. They were traumatized. So just to ease them, I offered some bananas which were lying in the back of my car seat. These children somehow picked up the banana. I insisted to eat, and then I heard one girl was asking to another that what kind of potato it is. Then she said, neither it's an onion. They had never seen banana before. Then I somehow insisted, and after a while I saw that some of them were just trying to eat banana and throwing it away because they did not peel it. They were eating without peeling the banana. And then I felt that there is a centuries long difference between freedom and slavery. Just eating the banana, peeling or without peeling. Suddenly, I taught them, and then I saw this girl sitting beside me forcibly put her hand on my shoulder. With angry voice, she asked in her own language, Mehtaji will understand, "Kyun re tu pehle kyun nahi aayo? Oh man, why didn't you come earlier?" Friends, it was not because of the banana taste. It was she has seen the brutality, the death of her brother in her lap. There was no medication. They have no idea of medication. India has changed a lot during these years, but I'm talking about something which is about 30 years ago. But that is the situation here in this country also. Number of people are trafficked and put to work in fields, including in tobacco fields right in the United States of America. In most of the states, smoking is not allowed for the younger children, but the child labor is allowed in the tobacco farms. How can you justify it? You cannot hire children in Europe and America, most of the European countries, in child labor. But companies can easily go and exploit children through the supply chain in Africa, Asia, Latin America. If we have to walk together, if we have to build a just global family, we have to talk of peace and sustainability and justice, then we have to address those issues where children are facing, what children are facing today in the world. So this Devli's question, why didn't you come earlier, is not a question for me. This is the question for you, and you, and you, and you. She was educated, she was kept in our ashram for years, but when she went back, she had a resolve that no child would be left out to work in her vicinity, in her village. All children would be enrolled in school. 36 children were withdrawn through her efforts, and all of them were admitted to schools, enrolled in schools. And then one day Devli was invited to address in the General Assembly of United Nations in New York. After telling her story, she said that I am the one who was born in slavery, but my resolve was able to change my village. Why don't you have that resolve? You are so powerful people. You are so resourceful people. Make sure that no child is enslaved, should not be out of school, should not fall out of any health care. And within that moment, when she gave this challenge and call, $40 million have been committed immediately to the African children through some governments. That was the power of innocence, the power of purity. There was a heavy fire broken out in jungle. all animals were rushing for a safer place, including King Lion. A lion noticed that there was a tiny hummingbird flying towards the flame. And he shouted, "What are you doing? Committing suicide?" She replied, "No, sir. I am going to extinguish this fire because I was born and grew up here in this jungle." He asked, "How come?" She said, "Look at my beak. I am carrying a drop of water. I am doing my bit." She said, "I am doing my bit." Rest is the history. Each one of you have that tiny hummingbird inside you, but much more powerful. You can extinguish the fire of violence and injustice, discrimination, inequality, gender violence, domestic violence, and all sort of gun culture and violence from this earth. We need to have a world which is a beautiful world, and this beauty will come when every single child on the earth smiles in freedom. Would you do it?
Yes.
I am not asking for clapping that I receive every day or every other day. I am asking you to raise your hands. I wanted to ignite that hummingbird inside you. I wanted to remind you that there is a beautiful child inside each one of you. If you are truthful, if you are honest, it is because of that child. Don't let that child die inside you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This concludes the general session. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much.
This concludes the general session. Don't forget to take a look at your app. Everybody will be back here tomorrow. Make sure I see you at the House of Friendship. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.